that Dr. Akanksha is ready with her presentation.
Yes, ma'am. I'm ready with my presentation. Good morning to all of you.
Well,
should I start?
Kindly go ahead. Yes, you're audible
Yes.
and clear.
I'm sharing my screen. Is it visible to everyone?
Yes.
Thank you and welcome to all of you in the 5th Emeritus Pathology Conference. I'm Dr. Akanksha Singh from King George's Medical University, Lucknow, India. I am presenting a case report on the topic Cribriform morula variant of papillary carcinoma in an old treated case of medulloblastoma, a rare and distinctive case. An 18-year-old female presented with painless swelling in the anterior aspect of neck, which was increasing in size for the past 1 year. There was no history of fever or weight loss or loss of appetite, and there was no any significant family history. Patient was diagnosed as a case of medulloblastoma in 2010 and underwent treatment for the same till 2013. She has received multiple cycles of chemotherapy and radiotherapy as treatment. She underwent routine blood and biochemical investigations, FNAC of the anterior neck, swelling, and CCT of face and neck and upper thoracic region. All the blood tests were within normal limits, except serum thyroid levels as they were deranged. You can see all the three serum free T3, free T4, and serum TSH levels all are deranged. In the CCT, thyroid gland was found to be bulky. Multiple well-defined nodular lesions were studied throughout the thyroid parenchyma, with largest measuring 23 into 22 into 18 mm, left lobe measuring 32 into 32, and isthmus measures 24 into 20 into 17 mm. The thyroid capsule was well intact and no extrathecal extension was found, and there was no any significant tracheal compression was noted. And there was also no significant cervical and mediastinal lymphadenopathy. Patient was diagnosed as case of papillary thyroid carcinoma, Bethesda category 6 on FNAC. Then the patient got operated and underwent total thyroidectomy with bilateral cervical neck dissection, and the specimen was sent to department and the specimen was sent to our department of pathology. We received a total thyroidectomy specimen weighing 25.3 grams, comprising of right lobe measuring 3.5 into 2 into 1.5 centimeters, isthmus measuring 2 into 1 centimeter, and left lobe measuring 4.5 into 3 into 2 centimeters. The outer surface of the specimen was encapsulated, bosselated with areas of congestion, and grossly no extracapsular and extrathyroidal extension was noted. The cut surface of the right lobe, left lobe, and isthmus showed grayish-white solid growth involving whole of the parenchyma of both lobes as well as the isthmus. The cut surface of this growth shows numerous papillary excrescences. Parathyroid glands were also identified, measuring 0.8 into 0.7 into 0.6 at the lower end of the right lobe. Now coming to the microscopy, this was the low power image. In this image, you can see at the bottom of the right side, there's the normal thyroid tissue, while in left side, all the parenchyma is covered with is replaced by the thyroid, all the tumor cells. This is the high power view in which you can see the cribriform pattern. This is a more enhanced view. You can easily see the individual nuclear morphology. In PTC, in conventional PTC, you will see nuclear overlapping, nuclear elongation, and nuclear grooving with orphan NEI nuclei. But in this case, CMV PTC, you will not find the typical nuclear features what we usually find in normal conventional PTC. Now coming to the immunohistochemistry, what we applied in our case, it was EMA and CK19 thyroglobulin synaptophysin. We applied EMA so as to rule out the epithelial malignancy. CK19 is helpful in ruling out whether it's a follicular variant of PTC versus follicular adenoma. For determining that any thyroid tissue, it's thyroglobulin is used. And for differentiating it with neuroendocrine tumors, we use synaptophysin. All the markers came out to be negative, and we also applied Ki-67. In the hotspot areas, it was about 50 to 55%. Now, as total thyroidectomy was done, the tumor focality was unifocal, with involving all the left lobe, right lobe, as well as thummus, which measuring or total tumor size was 6.5 units 3 into 2 centimeters. The final diagnosis was made as papillary carcinoma thyroid, cribriform morular variant, with there is no extrathyroid extension and only one lymph node was identified with no regional any metastasis. The pathological state that we gave was PT3A and no AMX. T3A means the tumor size is more than 4 centimeters, limited to the thyroid only. So the final diagnosis was made on histomorphology, and it was consistent with papillary thyroid carcinoma, cribriform morular variant without extrathyroid extension, and parathyroid edema was also identified. Now I'd like to say a few words about papillary carcinoma thyroid. As it is, thyroid carcinoma comprises of approximately 1% of all cancers and accounts for about 0.2% of cancer deaths. Most of the carcinomas are of papillary type. It can occur at any age and mostly diagnosed in the 5th and 3rd decade. Women are more affected than men in the ratio 2:1 to 4:1. Now the etiological factors. These are the various etiological factors. Iodine plays a very important role, as you can see in India, in iodine deficient areas. As it is iodine, few areas are iodine deficient, we will see most of the tumors are of follicular type. But in the iodine sufficient or iodine excess areas, like in South America, you can see it. Most common carcinoma is papillary carcinoma. Now the external radiation also plays important role. Some autoimmune disease like Graves' disease is also responsible. Then hormonal and reproductive, females are more prone than males for having papillary carcinoma thyroid. Some genetic syndromes are involved, like APC, then HNPCC, Cowden syndromes, and follicular adenoma and parathyroid adenoma are also responsible, because we have seen that when they were earlier already in a patient with already thyroid or adenoma is present, it can later on convert into PTC also, if not treated on time. Now I would like to discuss a few words about CMV PTC. As the name indicates, this variant is characterized by the presence of cribriform pattern of growth and the morular formations. It develops in a sporadic form or an extrathyroidal intestinal component of the familial adenomatous polyposis syndrome, of which it may be the initial clinical manifestation. It is seen almost exclusively in female, present as multifocal tumors with a cribriform solid or spindle cell growth pattern. This rare variant of PTC can occur in 1 to 2% of patients with familial adenomatous polyposis. All cases show APC germline mutation, and some all cases also show RET or PTC activation. This cribriform morular variant papillary carcinoma are often encapsulated with an intimate admixture of cribriform, follicular, papillary, trabecular, and solid pattern of growth. Round squamoid morular structures are a characteristic finding. Intraluminal colloid is scanty or absent altogether, with invasion of the tumor capsule or a vessel is common. Sporadic cases are usually solitary, while those associated with familial adenomatous polyposis often multifocal. The neoplastic cell nuclei are not particularly clear, but exhibit variable amount of grooves and pseudo-inclusions in the morules. However, neoplastic cells have optically clear nuclei. Thyroglobulin is often weakly expressed, and TTF1 is variable positive within the tumor. Nuclear immunoreactivity for beta-catenin, the hallmark of WNT pathway, activation is the rule. WNT signaling is activated in the familial tumors because of the germline loss of function mutations of APC gene, and in the sporadic ones because of the somatic APC mutations or due to somatic mutations in the exon 3 of the beta-catenin gene that stabilizes the beta-catenin protein, preventing its degradation and promoting its accumulation in the nucleus. Now I would like to share a few words about medulloblastoma. Medulloblastoma is the most common CNS embryonal tumor of childhood and second only to pilocytic astrocytoma or intracranial neoplasms. Surgical excision combined with radiochemotherapy is the treatment therapy. Irradiation is a well-known risk factor for development of the benign and malignant thyroid tumors. Children are more exposed due to increased sensitivity of the thyroid gland to the carcinogenic effect of ionizing radiations. So, at last, in the conclusion, the thyroid gland is highly sensitive to the harmful effects of ionizing radiations. Hypothyroidism is the most frequent dysfunction, followed by Graves' disease, secondary ophthalmopathy, and autoimmune thyroiditis. To conclude, patients with CMV-PTC have a distinct clinical, pathological, and molecular profiles when compared to conventional papillary thyroid carcinoma. These are my references, and special thanks to my respected faculty, Dr. Chanchal Rana ma'am and Professor Suresh Babu sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Akanksha, for presenting such a rare, distinctive case of cribriform modular variant of papillary carcinoma thyroid in a known case of medulloblastoma. And I can say that, well, I have not yet come across this variant in my practice till now. So it was really interesting for me and hopefully for all the participants as well, because this is quite a rare case which you have presented today. So thank you for that. And you have also enlightened us about this variant in detail, along with H&D pictures, as well as the different appropriate IHC markers for this variant to confirm it. And it was a pleasure to listen to you today, your speech through today's topic of yours. And we truly appreciate your participation in this digital conference. Once again, thank you, Dr. Akanksha.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, now the platform is open for any questions for Dr. Akanksha, any suggestions?